Coach Bobo and Coach Nichols, thank you for praying. And everybody that came here today, don't just look at this as another gathering. Just like Coach Hodges said, we're going into our fourth quarter. You in fourth quarter right now. Some of these kids, I don't know if they know how to spell. Rob said A. They're not getting the nurturing that we had from Mr. Lee, Mr. Baker. Some of our teachers that cared, when teachers cared about you instead of a score, they cared about you. A lot of you don't even know. This man right here came up to me, and I'm not ashamed to say it. He came up to me my senior year and asked me, Blue, he said, you want to go to college or you want to just get you a job? I said, I want to go to college. He said, well, we got some good news. I got some bad news. The good news is that these college coaches want you. The bad news is you got to make all A's through the rest of the year. You remember that, Coach? I might need to turn this off. I went and I brought teachers apples to school, ranking yards. They didn't give me anything. I had to work for it. I stayed after school. They tutored me. He gave me the tools to work with, but I had to work it. So what I'm telling you is just like Coach Bobo and Coach Hodges and Coach Nichols was saying, the seed has been planted in us. Now we got to watch our harvest come up through the seeds that were planted in us. I wouldn't let this moment go by today without bringing my wife and my kids. I wanted them to meet and have the West Rome experience. I wanted them to see firsthand. She's from Warner Robins on the Blue Demons. This is special, and I like what you said. The building don't make the people. The people, okay, Eric, sit down. I'm in charge, son. The building don't make the people. The people make the building.
Well, everybody's proud. His mama's proud, and his old coach is proud. That to see his mom pass the torch to the son, I think that's the greatest tribute to David, and the greatest tribute to his mama. And so David again was blessed, good family, special mom, and now he's got the torch. And I know that he's got a shining example in his mama, and he'll follow that, and I think try to raise it even to greater heights as he preaches the Lord's gospel, and also will bring more and more people to realize that the Lord is the rock, and that'll take you through tough times. And I'm sure David will tell you that every tough time he ever had, the good Lord was there to lift him up.
I would like to say this, that if you take, a lot of people try to water down our giftings in terms of music and athletics. I have a problem with that because you be who you are. I was raised in South Rome in a poverty-stricken area, and it took everything and every person that we could to get us through. I didn't have a lot of money. I went to the University of Georgia for 4 years, not on an academic scholarship, but I used my athletic abilities. I didn't have a scholarship in terms of academics, but I used my giftings to get what I had to go.
Well, we're here to celebrate the life of David McCLUSKEY and remember him and honor his life. And let me say from the get-go what an honor and what a privilege it was to be David's football coach, and just a privilege to be a part of West Rome High School. All those players, students, cheerleaders, fans, that West Rome community that we were all a part of. It was a special place and a special time, and certainly David was one we always remembered, and we remember him well. Uh, uh, he was a tremendous football player, no doubt. A very, very talented, very gifted, and in fact, his senior year in high school, he was recognized by the sports writers and coaches in this state as the all classification player of the year. What an honor that is, because what that simply means is that they thought he was the best high school football player in the state of Georgia. And I've coached some really good players, but I've never coached a player that was recognized in that way. So he was a very gifted player and a great player. Went on to have a great college career at Georgia, and but as good as that was, uh, that really doesn't define the legacy that David left us. His legacy was so much more than that, and in watching him through the years, uh, the way he lived his life, the relationship he had with the Lord, the way he served the Lord, the way he executed his faith and demonstrated his faith through his ministry, his music ministry in the churches, serving as a pastor. He just that that demonstration of faith is what his legacy is all about. You know, we can do three things with our life. We either spend it, we waste it, or we invest it, and we get to choose. God lets us choose, and David chose to invest his life in people and in things that made an eternal difference, and that's his legacy. You know, early on, came to learn in coaching David that he was real involved with his church. He grew up in the church and was involved with the church uh, at an early age. I can remember his sophomore year in high school. We were on the practice field, and I was in the huddle. We were making some corrections there on the play, and one of the players said, "Coach," said, "Miss McCluskey's back here. I think she needs to speak to you." I said, "Well, where is she? What are you?" She said, "She's right back here." I looked out in the back of the huddle, and there she was in the middle of the field, 10 yards behind the huddle. And Miss McCluskey was a rather tall lady. She was a large lady, a pretty imposing figure. And uh, so I stepped out of that huddle, and she motioned for me to come back there and speak with her. And I got back there to her as quick as I could, and she began to tell me that they were having revival at the church, and that David was playing the piano and the organ at the revival, and they were going to have a rehearsal, and they couldn't do rehearsal without David playing the piano and the organ, and she just needed to take him right now. And all I said was, "Yes, ma'am. You get him and you take him." So that was that was a pretty indication how heavily involved he was in the church. He was just as talented on the music end. He could play that piano and organ. I've heard him several times, and I think he could play about any instrument. He could pick up anything and play it, and very talented there. But I remember his senior year in high school when that was when I really got a close up look at his faith and how genuine it was. We were undefeated at the time and in the playoffs and making a run at the championship, and David was ruled ineligible kind of on a technicality with the Georgia High School Association. In other words, he wasn't going to be able to play in the state semifinals or the finals. And had to sit down with him and try to explain that to him and try to get him to understand it. But that's pretty tough. It was devastating to him. It was devastating to me and the rest of the coaches and players and the whole school. But that's when David made that statement to me. He said, "Coach," uh, he said, "I know God's in control of all this, and I know God has a plan for my life. And I'm going to trust that like I always have. And he said that if I'm not going to be playing, there won't be a better leader on this football team than I am for these next 2 weeks. I'll be encouraging, lifting everybody up, providing a lot of energy out there at practice. I'll try to be the best I can be. And that was real faith, because that was during a real tough time for him. You know, we always say only during times of adversity do we have an opportunity for greatness. And he executed great faith in a tough time in his life, because not being able to play in those 2 games at the end of a 4-year career, that's pretty tough. All he'd invested, all the blood, sweat, and work and effort that he had poured in, but he was putting it in the hands of the Lord. And he continued to grow in his faith, to grow in his relationship with Christ, and like I say, had a tremendous music ministry all his life, was a pastor too. That really is his legacy. He was a spiritual leader of his home, and I had a lot of respect uh, with that about David. He set a real example there for all of us. You know, I got a call from David in the spring of this year, and he was going to come down, and we were going to spend a day and hang out. He wanted to come down to Thomasville and just kind of hang out for a day. I was really looking forward to that and having that conversation with him and having a chance to visit with him, and we didn't get that chance. Uh, but you know, I don't have to think about missing out on that, or not having said what I would like to have said to David, or wish I had had an opportunity to this, because I'm going to have a lot of opportunities to have a lot of conversations with him, because I know where David is because of that faith and because of his relationship with Christ. He secured his place with the family of God, and he has the promise of eternal life. And my salvation is secure too, so I know where I'm going, and I'll have a lot of conversations with David. Uh, so let me just say this: he hadn't left us; he's just waiting on us. And we just all need to make sure that we have the kind of relationship with Christ that he had, and we secure our place, our eternal life, by having that kind of relationship with Christ, and that kind of trust and that committing everything to him. God gives us the opportunity to turn to Christ or turn our back on Christ. You make sure you turn to him to secure your place, so that we'll all be with David and see David again. But I can be, although I'm hurting inside because I miss him, I'm happy for David, because he's exactly where I want to be. And I look forward to having a lot of conversations with him down the road. God bless all of you people. And I thank you for this opportunity. I love David, and I love all of that West Rome family. Special time for me, a special season of my life. And certainly David was a big part of that. I'll continue to keep all of you in my thoughts and prayers. And any of you get close to Thomasville, Georgia, you hunt me up. I love you guys.